Hi guys, this is Mike at Akamai, and in this short video we're going to be walking through how you can create custom dashboards in mPulse. We're going to cover a couple different ways how to do that. First of all, we're going to talk about how you can create a new dashboard by just modifying any existing dashboard. If it's not quite what you want, or if you want to add a little bit something to it, you can modify an existing dashboard. Then we'll talk about another option, which is creating a dashboard with the compare tool that's available in the top right corner of every widget. It allows you to compare two different time periods very easily. Then we'll talk about creating a dashboard from scratch. Hey, I'd like to just design my own dashboard from scratch, and how do I do that? And then how you can import and export these dashboards. And lastly, we'll have some links for where you can go for some additional information. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to start by talking about how you can modify an existing dashboard. And so to start with, I'm going to open up mPulse here. We're looking at the DevOps dashboard, and this is a pretty common system dashboard. It's kind of one of the stock dashboards that comes with mPulse, and it's got a lot of information on it. But maybe this dashboard is, mostly what you want, but isn't quite what you want. So we're going to kind of modify this dashboard. One other thing to note about these dashboards is the dashboards are composed of widgets. We have kind of table widgets, which are shown down here. We have, this is called a summary widget, where it has this large text values for different metrics or values in here. We have line chart widgets. We've got map widgets here. So there's a whole palette of available widgets. We've probably got 40 or 50 different kinds and styles of widgets that are available to create dashboards from. But when it usually comes down to it, usually most of your dashboards, the information you're looking for will typically be displayed in tables, summaries, and line charts, just because those are the greatest density of information that you can display. But let's go ahead and take the example of, I've got this dashboard, it looks good to me, except I wish I had a few other things in it. Might want another column in here that has the percentage of users from each country, and maybe I want another table down here that has the breakout by device type. So we'll go ahead and modify this dashboard to do that. To modify a dashboard, we have two different buttons in the upper left-hand corner here. This button here will pull up an edit pane from the bottom of the window that allows me to edit or tweak anything about a dashboard or any of the widgets in a dashboard. And this button here pulls over a widget panel that has a list of all these different widgets that you can drag and drop into the dashboard to create the dashboard. So I'm going to start by clicking this to edit here. It's going to pull up, well actually, since this is a system level dashboard, I'm not allowed to just modify this one directly, because the DevOps dashboards and all the system level dashboards are always the same. So it's prompting me to say, hey, make your own copy of this, and you can modify that copy. So I'm going to create this dashboard called DevOps 2. We'll hit the OK button. What it's going to do is it's going to create a copy of the DevOps dashboard. That's my own copy that I can modify and kind of tweak it however I want here. And so now we've got this new dashboard here. You'll see it update here in a second as soon as it's done creating that. Okay, so now we've got the DevOps 2 dashboard, and we can modify this dashboard. So to modify the dashboard, I could either hit these buttons to pull up the panel at the bottom, or another way to modify a widget is you can just double click on the title bar at the top of the widget. I'm going to use that one here just so I can specify very quickly this is what I want to modify. So I'll double click there. It pulls up the edit panel at the bottom here and allows you to edit it. So a couple things to do here. First of all, if I go down here on this tree, I can say, hey, I'd like to edit the type of information in this widget. I'll go down here, and you can see there's a long list of available metrics and timers in here. You'll see both a lot of the system timers and metrics available in there, but also if you've created any custom timers or custom metrics, those will appear in the list as well. In this case, I want to add a new column for the percentage. So that's available up at the top here, this percent. I'm going to click that and hit apply, and that's going to go ahead and modify this country, and it's now added this column for percent. But if I wanted to add 5 or 10 columns with lots of different metrics on page construction or network times or other things, you just pick the information you want, and that'll add it as a column into this dashboard. Something else you can do is you go up to the widget level, you can modify the appearance of the widget. I could change the title that's shown in here, the text in the title bar. I can change the color. If I want it to be green, I can click green and hit apply, and it'll change it to green. So it's easy to kind of modify the look and feel of the widget. You can decide as well if you'd like to add filters. You can add a filter to a widget and say, hey, I'd like to filter this to a certain page group, or filter to a certain country or device type. You can add the filters. And the filters can appear on the widget, where they would filter just that widget, or they can appear on the top, like you see all these filters on the top on the dashboard level. And when I select a filter here, it will affect all of the widgets within the dashboard. So that's the first thing we've done. We've modified the dashboard so far to add a different column to one of these tables. Something else I want to do in this dashboard, though, is I'd like to add another widget for the device type, and I'd like to put it down here. So there's two ways I could do that. One is I could sort of start from scratch and kind of click on this panel and go down into a table widget and say I'd like to have a table with different rows for the device types and just drag and drop that out there. Then I would have to add in the columns I want, the percent and the load time columns and things like that. So that's certainly doable. It doesn't take too long to do. But if there is a widget that's kind of what I want already, I can just very easily copy that widget. Now in this case, I see that this countries widget is sort of what I want. I just wish that the rows were device types rather than countries. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this widget. I'll go up here and I'll go duplicate. It's going to make another copy of that widget right below here. I can take that, I can move it wherever I want it to be, and so I'm going to drag and drop it over here. And you'll see it's got little kind of hints here indicating where it's going to land if you drop it. So I want to drop it below the map there. And so now I've got a copy of that dashboard. Now I'm going to edit this one. And what I'd like to do is edit the different rows rather than being countries to be device types. So I'll double click here. It's going to pull up that edit panel at the bottom. And now I can go ahead and select what I'd like to have in this. So I'm going to click on metrics by dimension, go up to the very top here, and we're going to say, hey, I want the rows, rather than being country, I'd like them to be device type. And hit apply there, and we've now got a widget that has the different device types. So I'll probably want to change that name too as well. So I'm going to double click that, and we're going to call that device type. Okay, cool. So that's it. Pretty simple to modify an existing widget. You can just drag and drop new widgets into it. You can modify an existing widget inside the dashboard. You can copy them very easily and then modify that copy so that you can make similar copies for each of these things going forward here. That's the first option for creating a new dashboard. The other option, or another option for creating dashboards, is very common use cases that I'd like to do a comparison to see how things looked before and after a time period. So if I want to do a comparison and, for instance, see how did my page groups look last week compared to this week. What's kind of nice about every one of these widgets, if you go to the upper right-hand side of the widget, and you can click on that, and there's a little option here that says compare. And what it's going to do is it's going to say, okay, we're going to allow you to take this widget and compare it to a different time period. It'll pull up that widget. It'll also pull up a calendar and allow you to pick another time period. So I'll pick a 1 week previous, and we're going to compare today's data to the week prior data. When I hit compare here, it's going to take those two widgets. It's going to put them side by side. On the left is the 3rd through the 4th last week. On the right is the last 24 hours that we have here. So I can see a side-by-side comparison to see if things have changed. And then I do have this option here to save as a new dashboard. When I click this here, it's going to save this dashboard with a side-by-side comparison, time period comparison, give it a name, we'll call it Deluxe, and hit the OK button. And it's now saved in my dashboards as a new dashboard. So I can pull this up and look at it any time without having to kind of select that compare. And I can also modify this going forward. If I want to add other items to this, I can do that as well. So that's another option for creating a comparison dashboard here, is to just use that compare widget. The last option for creating a new dashboard is to just start from scratch. So if I wanted to create a new dashboard, I'll go ahead and click on Central, and then go up here and go New Dashboard. It'll ask me a name for my dashboard. I'm going to call this Deluxe Dashboard with Sprinkles. And then it's going to ask me for a layout. So if I want to just have one widget really big, like one big table on this dashboard, I'll select this one here. Usually though, for the most flexibility, I'll select this option down here that has 2 columns, or this option that has 3 columns. This allows you to put widgets at the top if you want them full width, or put them down here to have them third or half width. So I'm going to select this one here. I'll hit the next button. And what happens here is it's going to take us into this widget selector. On the left-hand side, there's a whole bunch of widgets. We'll have a follow-up video that goes through all these different widgets, but again, the ones that you're going to use 90% of the time are going to be the summary widget, which is shown here, the table widget, which we've seen before, and the chart widget, which is the line chart over time. So I'm going to start by creating a table. What I'd like to do is create kind of a page construction dashboard. I'd like to be able to compare the weight of pages, the number of items on pages, and maybe compare them desktop to mobile. So I'm going to start by creating a table that has a lot of page construction metrics. So I'll go to tables here. I want to see the breakout by each of the different page groups, so I'll go ahead and pull that up there. And I just drop this in here. Now when you add a widget into a dashboard, and particularly a table widget, it's really boring at first. It just has the number of beacons and the different types here. So you can see how many page views there were. You'll have to start by modifying that right away to add the columns you want. In this case, I'll go down to the metrics by dimension. There's a lot of available metrics. So the decoded body size, that's the overall size of the page if you add it all up. The all asset transfer size, that's how much of the page went over the wire. The number of requests per page, how many items there were. We'll probably want to see how long the page took to load as well, so that we can compare and see the load time versus the page size here. And then there's a lot of other metrics on page construction, but I think you get the idea. I'll go ahead and pick a few of them here. I'll hit the apply button. You'll see across the top here, now we've added all these different columns, so I can start to see the comparison of how the size of the pages between the category page and the product page, how it changes over time here. Something else I can do, I like green, so I'm going to go ahead and do the green on the top here. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to be able to compare the page size of mobile versus desktop. So I'm going to put a filter on this one widget so I can filter it to mobile. Then we're going to copy that widget and put it over here and filter that one to desktop. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to take this one widget. At the widget level, we're adding a filter. And I'll say let's go ahead and add a device type filter. When I hit apply there, that's added a filter for device type, and we'll call this one the mobile. I can even, just to make it really clear, I can have that title say mobile. So now the text at the top says mobile pages. So now I can see kind of here's the size of all the pages across all the page groups for mobile, and I'd like to compare that to desktop, so I'm going to duplicate this dashboard, drag that over there. Now we've got side by side 2. In this case, this will be the desktop version. And I'm going to call this one, wait till that updates there, call that one desktop page. I'll apply that. Okay, so now we've got side by side. Here's the weight of the pages, all the different types of pages on the site for the mobile. Here's the weight of all the different types of pages on the site for the desktop. Great. Something else I might want to add, I'd like to add a chart across the top that shows over time. How did the page performance change over whatever time period I'm looking at? So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to go to the charts for doing that. And when we open up charts, there's actually 3 different options here. If I want to show how the value of a timer, like the page load time or the TCP time or something, changed over time, I just go to the timers section. I can drag and drop that over here. You can also say I'd like to have a separate line for each page group here. So I'm going to select that, each of the page groups. And then select what timer you'd like to see. In this case, I'm going to see the page load time over time. I'm going to drop that up there. Sticking true to form, I'm going to make this a nice green color here so that we can stay consistent. And when this widget first comes in here, you'll see that it's kind of this area graph, which I don't like as much. I think it kind of covers this up. But you can select what type of graph it is. And I'm going to select, rather than an area graph, I'd like it to be a line graph, and hit apply there. So now we've got a line graph over time. We're looking at the last, today, I'll go ahead and look at the last 24 hours. And when that data comes in here, now we can see the performance of each of the pages over time. One other item to note that's just kind of helpful on these charts, it's kind of jumpy here. You can see the performance of each of the pages, minute to minute, and you can see it jumps around minute by minute. Down below each of the charts, there's this thing that says, hey, rather than going every minute and showing its value, let's smooth it and just look at kind of over each 5 minutes. What has the time changed? So it kind of smooths these things out. You can do smoothing by 5 minutes or 15 minutes or other time periods here. A way for you to smooth out, makes it a little bit easier to see trends in the data here. That maybe is still a little bit too jumpy. I'm going to go up to 15 minutes here so we can smooth that out a bit. But that kind of makes it easier to see these things here. So now I've got this page load time over time. I can see the performance of the different pages. If you mouse over, you can see the names of the pages. Something else I might want to have in here, I might like to have the number of measurements. How many page views were there for the account page and the category page and the product page over this time period here? So in this case, if I'd like to see the number of measurements, that's the item up here for measurements. It's just the count of the measurements here. Now, when I open this up, I'm going to select that I'd like to see the count of the measurements for each of the different types of pages. So the home page, etc. here. And it's kind of confusing because you're looking for just the number of counts of measurements. Well, why do I have all these timer values here if I'm not actually going to show the value of the timer? Well, sometimes some of the timers, they'll have a 0 value. You might not have a TCP connector, a DNS lookup time for some of these things. And so the value would be 0. This is going to give you the count of all the non-zero measurements of those. And that's useful sometimes because you'd like to see, well, how many times did I not have to do a TCP lookup or DNS lookup on a site or a page? So having the count of different types of timers is useful sometimes. Usually, though, when you're looking for the measurements here, you just want to see how many pages, in which case probably the safest thing to do is to just pull up the page load time and count how many page load timers we had over this time period. And I'll go ahead and just drop this up here. We've got the measurements over time. We can see how many, essentially, page views there were for each of these different page groups over time. And I will go ahead and smooth that out to 5 minutes here. Again, it shows up not in the format that I'd like here, so I'm going to go ahead and change this to a line graph. This is just personal preference. I like the line graphs a little bit better. Apply that. And, you know, you got to stick with the green theme there. So we'll hit apply there and go green. So so that's it. That's the second way. And you can see that, you know, the sky's the limit. You can go ahead and add other tables. You can add summary charts. You can add whatever you'd like to any of these things. Modify them going forward to create these custom dashboards. So samples of custom dashboards. Let me pull up a couple others and take a look at things. I'll pull up this 2019 performance. This is just a dashboard that has a summary widget. And we made 12 copies of the summary widget, and you set each of them to a different time period. So now you can see the performance of each of the months back in 2019 and how performance has changed over those time periods there. Other dashboards here, sample dashboards here. It's like a perceived performance dashboard here. Double click on this one. This one is an example of a dashboard we'll get into in a future video where you have lots of lines on the same chart. And the way you can do that is you can take two line charts, put them below each other, but then you can drag and drop one of them on top of the other one. And that'll give you kind of this combined view. If we go back to that dashboard that we created earlier, where I've got these two lines, if you pull and drop this one on that one, it'll say, what do you want to do? If you hit combine, it's going to put those two dashboards together, and you're going to have both sets of information shown in that one dashboard there. So you can start to create fancier combinations with these here, where you can see the number of requests and those time values there. This is an example of doing that, where they've actually created different timers on the page load time and timed interactive, and you can see how each of those are trending over time. So lots of examples on how to do that. So we've seen lots of cool examples of how you can create your own custom dashboards, and you can see that a lot of people have already created their own custom dashboards. So how do you save these, and how do you share them, and how does that work? So if I want to take any dashboard here and save it, I can go back to Central here, and I want to save it locally. Pick any dashboard. We just created this deluxe dashboard of the sprinkles, and I can go down here and go export. What that's going to do is it's going to take that dashboard, it's going to make a local copy on my local laptop here. And I can put that in a zip file format if I want here, and go ahead and download and save that. Now that I have this locally here, if I were to want to import it again in the future, maybe somebody deleted my dashboard and I've got this offsite backup now, I can go ahead and re-import that and go up here and import. It'll ask me to choose files from my local system here. You can pick, I think that's in the downloads folder here, this deluxe dashboard of the sprinkles, and you can re-import that there. So exporting and importing dashboards is a way that you can both create an offsite backup, but also if other people have created a dashboard that you want, you can go ahead and import those other dashboards, save you the work from creating those dashboards from scratch. So next, if we want to, for more information, let's go ahead and take a look there. There's a few different either learn articles available on akamai.com. You can create custom dashboards or managing custom dashboards. But I think probably the most useful, dashboards has a lot of options for how to create them. And one of the things you should be aware of is there's a Contact Us button in mPulse. And if you click on that Contact Us button, you go up here and just click Contact Us, you can hit a new conversation and just type in your question down here. And that's me or Ollie or some of the other guys on the tech team. You know, we monitor this, we'll respond to you as quick as we can. Sometimes we're in other meetings, we'll get back to you, and there's a whole group of other people as well that can respond. So if you just have a quick question, go ahead and type in your question there, and we'll get back to you as quick as we can. So sometimes it's a little better than trying to dig through reams and reams of documentation. So that's all I had for today. Hope you found it useful, and if you have questions, go ahead and reach out to us with the Contact Us button. Have fun.